Social Distancing is a Lesson to Learn From by Timothy Rohr. Due to COVID-19, many of us are practicing social distancing to help slow the spread of the virus. We are restricted from dining out at restaurants, going to the hair salon, going to movie theaters, going to bowling alleys, going to beaches, going on vacations, and having parties or group gatherings. The social isolation from the social distancing guidelines is practical to slow the spread of the virus, but it causes stress and frustration to our self-esteem and mental health. We can, however, enjoy home activities such as Netflix, YouTube, social media, video chatting with our friends and family, reading a book, watching television, listening to music, or play video games, while you or someone else is complaining about how social distancing makes us feel upset. It is time to think about the people who faced social isolation and practiced social distancing way before COVID-19 started. Those people are the ones who have autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, or other mental or physical disabilities. During the years of prosperity, we enjoyed the freedom of having parties such as birthday parties, pool parties, holiday parties, graduation parties, and sweet 16s. We also loved the freedom of going out to eat at restaurants, going to the movie theater, going to the beach, riding roller coasters at amusement parks, seeing sporting events, seeing concerts, and traveling, while you and your friends were having a good time together. Think about the people who struggle to do things, such as learning at school, knowing proper communication, understanding social cues, and getting around from one place to another. Just like the COVID-19 lockdown, 70% of those people live with restrictions, such as not being allowed to drive a car, go to college, or living independently. The COVID-19 lockdown restrictions are temporary, but the restrictions that people with disabilities follow may apply for their entire lives. We should be thankful that we were able to go to events as listed before, and that we enjoyed our freedoms before the COVID-19 pandemic. The emotional frustration that we as non-disabled people are feeling during the pandemic is how those with autism and other disabilities felt during the times when we were allowed to enjoy social events, when we as non-disabled people excluded people with disabilities from texting, calling, going to parties, seeing a movie, and other forms of social interactions. We put them in social isolation. At those times, they would spend hours in the house, wishing that they were given the opportunity to join in social gatherings. In the homes of those with disabilities, they would either spend time doing nothing, look at social media posts, or doing activities under supervision by their family or caregivers. Technically, people with disabilities were allowed to go to restaurants, movie theaters, beaches, sporting events, and other forms of entertainment, but they were supervised or given restrictions by their family or caregivers when they were at those places. The restrictions that people with disabilities follow and the restrictions of the COVID-19 lockdown are quite similar, but both of those restrictions have different guidelines. For our situation with social distancing, we are not allowed to shake hands, hug, high five, or stand close to our friends and family. During the years when we were allowed to shake hands, hug, high five, or stand next to our friends in a closer distance, people with disabilities rarely had the chance to enjoy close contact with friends, just like how they did not have much of an opportunity to join in social gatherings. They were told to maintain social distancing from non-disabled people and were limited to only have friends who have the same diagnosis as them. People with disabilities may feel comfortable only communicating with other people with disabilities, but they have a preference to have friends who are non-disabled too. There are many people with disabilities in the world, but not as many people with disabilities within a community or town. Excluding people with disabilities from social interactions as a non-disabled person and not having as many people with disabilities within a community are the main causes of why people with disabilities are socially isolated. I want people with disabilities to have the chance to get out in the community and for their non-disabled peers to accept them in their circles of friends. A disability itself should not determine if they have common interests with other friends, but what does define common interests are what activities, clothes, movies, music, and other things they like, things that they acquire. It's important to understand that being friends with those with disabilities is not difficult, but the challenges that they face are. With compassion, patience, knowledge, and common sense, having people with disabilities in our circle of friends brings as much happiness and entertainment as our non-disabled friends. During this period of required social isolation, I want you and the rest of the non-disabled community to think about the sorrow that those with disabilities felt during the years of prosperity. How would you feel if your friends excluded you from the places we love? What would it feel like for you to sit in your house and see your friends having fun at the beach without inviting you? Those feelings are unpleasant experiences for both people with disabilities and non-disabled people. Is excluding those with disabilities from our social gatherings worth the sorrow? In conclusion, we should put ourselves in the shoes of those with autism and other disabilities during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. After when the COVID-19 policies become lifted, I would like to see a world in which non-disabled people, especially children, teenagers, and young adults, allow those with autism and other disabilities to hang out at parties, restaurants, movie theaters, beaches, amusement parks, bowling alleys, and other forms of entertainment, and for them to maintain close contact with each other.